As we were talking about earlier, big things happening in Seattle. 3 candidates are in the running for the Seattle police chief. We got interim SPD chief Carmen Best and Minneapolis police inspector Eddie Frizzell, and then the Austin assistant chief Eli Reyes. And we asked you in the 5 Hive what questions that you'd have for candidates. And reporter Chris Daniels, he sat down with them today.
Okay, I was hoping it was the winning lotto ticket, but I'll take what you have here. It says, is there new technology you want to investigate to make the department more efficient and effective? And this is from Kim. So we're always looking at ways to engage technology. Right now we have a data analytics platform that we're utilizing. If you look online, you'll see a whole host of dashboards. We're way in front in technology in the Seattle Police Department, and we're continuing to look forward on this very important front.
Okay, this question comes from Amanda. Do you have a plan to close the gap between community and police? Absolutely. The police department must reflect the community in which it serves, and that means you must recruit from those areas. I heard a statistic earlier today that of the indigenous population and the numbers that are on the police department that are unacceptable to me. When you have a proud indigenous people that Seattle rolls from, and they're not adequately represented on the police department, that's a no-go. So by going into the neighborhoods and again asking them, bring us your best and your brightest, and then I will build an avenue to law enforcement career for them to augment the department.
Future police chief, pick one out there and read it.
How will you have the police department engage with federal entities such as ICE? Will you assist or protest? That's from Jordan. So I think it's important that the community understand the police department's role when it comes to immigration. The police department does not enforce federal immigration laws, and when it comes to asking immigration status questions, the police department should not be involved in that. There is a role when it comes to criminal violations, when it comes to smuggling, human smuggling operations or drug trafficking operations. But as far as when it comes to enforcing federal immigration laws, the police department does not have a role in that.
Those were some really thoughtful questions, right?
I'm impressed.
Like, those all came from the 5 Hive.
Yeah, and not only that, just the answers from each
answers,
candidate. You're like, can we just all have you 3 like team up together?
Right, right. Exactly, one joint one. We're going to chat with Chris Daniels coming up a little bit later on Take 5 for more on what he learned today, because he sat down with those candidates and talked to them. So we'll figure out what he learned today right now.
All right, switching gears, we had some special guests at King 5 today. The 3 top finalists for Seattle Police Chief.
Yeah, the finalists are in no particular order. That's what you're always supposed to say. Carmen Best, Minneapolis Police Inspector Eddie Frizzell, and Austin Assistant Chief Eli Reyes. They came actually here to King 5 this morning. They talked to King 5's Chris Daniels, who joins us here on the set. Hi, Chris.
Hi. Well, you saw part of it earlier here on Take 5, part of a wide-ranging interview that we did with all 3 finalists. We had a chance to talk with them about their policy positions on multiple different issues, including homelessness. Homelessness is a huge issue here in Seattle. I understand it's been an issue as well in Minneapolis, and that you are quite familiar with the balance.
We had to dump out of that. We had some audio issues. We're going to try to
reboot.
It again. Our computers are the same as yours. We're going to smack it on the side and then try it again. Do a restart. Blow it inside. Here we go. Let's see if this worked.
Homelessness is a huge issue here in Seattle. I understand it's been an issue as well in Minneapolis, and that you are quite familiar with the balance there. The property owners believe that there is a connection between homelessness and crime. What is your philosophy on balancing public safety and the rights of the homeless?
Well, homelessness is not illegal, and a lot of those folks call the same area that we call home. Now, they've fallen on bad times. There's some emotionally disturbed mental issues that may be associated with it, but it's a social issue. Law enforcement has taken on a role that they were probably ill-equipped to take. And just my personal research indicates that when you take on that social role as a law enforcement officer, that's where problems begin to show their face. However, if you build livability teams in with your law enforcement efforts, which I've been able to do successfully, it works.
Being homeless in itself is not a crime, But if there's criminal activity associated with that, then we need to make sure that we address that.
That when there's an intersection of public health and public safety, that we're part of the solution in terms of getting out there, helping direct people to the right services, helping them get the treatment and the help that they need to move forward and get themselves out of a very unfortunate circumstance. That being said, if it's criminal activity, those folks get handcuffs and go to jail.
So they're running the gauntlet of interviews, so to speak, this week, kind of the final round. They'll meet with Seattle Mayor Jenny Durkan later on this week. She's not giving a timetable on when she'll make this selection a nomination to the city council, but it is perhaps one of the biggest moves that Mayor Durkan will be making in her, I guess, mayoralship at this point, is selecting this police chief. A lot of people are watching it. You can hear more from those three candidates coming up tonight at 5 and 6:30. We talk about things like racial bias and eliminating racial bias. So there's a lot to go over.
Some very serious topics. Did anything strike you as memorable or surprising when you were talking to
what's your first impression?
I think what you showed earlier in the show from Mr. Reyes, the assistant chief out of Austin, talking about ICE. That was a question that came in from your viewers saying, how will you work with Immigrations and Customs Enforcement? And he said, hey, I want to make it clear that local police do not act as the enforcement agents for ICE. And I think that's an answer that probably resonates pretty well in this community. So that was one of the things that jumped out today. But a lot of people believe that Carmen Best, who is the interim chief, has the inside track at this point. She wasn't a finalist, is now a finalist. A lot of people in Seattle like her, and they believe that perhaps she is the front runner at this point, but again, this is the final round of interviews for all three candidates.
It's really interesting because it's like a police junket, you know, they're just going around.
Suddenly it's like American Idol, they got to go around.
And they're meeting tonight. You have a chance as well to hear from all the finalists at 6 o'clock at the Seattle Vocational Institute, where they'll be talking as well.
Good stuff.
Thank you.
Chris, thank you. We appreciate it.